Good afternoon, and you're listening to the Indie Author Show. It's our first live show of 2019, so that's a bit daunting. I can't believe we're into 2019 already, but here we are. And my guest today is Phil Burrows. Hi, Phil.
Hi, thanks, Sue. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, January, and get those January blues out of the way, and we're going to talk about a new book you've got, the last in your Manarin series.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The end of the Manarin series.
Oh, I know, it's a bit sad, but I love the ending. I love how the whole book I love the series, actually, and I've always said this. I don't think I've ever read a sci-fi book in my life until I read yours, and I really loved it. So you've kind of converted me. I will now pick up a sci-fi novel. They're
That's nice.
yeah, no, it's good. And I love the characters. I love how you've kind of made them, well, I know Sam is human, but you've kind of given the aliens a bit of human characteristics as well. Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just how they interact together, and they learn from each other. So my husband's actually been watching a series on Netflix called Lost in Space. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, because there was an old movie called Lost in Space.
Yeah, no, but this is not a
It's a new
movie.
one.
It's
I
a
haven't seen it.
series. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I was thinking about you actually when he was watching it last night. You might want to do you get Netflix? Do you have
Yeah,
Netflix?
Netflix.
Yeah,
Just borrow it
yeah. You have to look it up because again, it's similar. They are lost in space, and it's a family, but then there's this protagonist that's always, she's not really who she appears to be, and they're out there trying to save the world and all that kind of stuff. But I'm actually sat there because in the past I probably would have walked out of the room and said, I'm not watching this. But ever since reading your novels, you've actually converted me to sci-fi. Now I'm not going to go so far to say that would be my first choice, but it's up there. Yeah. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the Manarin series. Just before we go to a track, we'll just give us an overview of the series itself.
Oh, okay. Well, the series starts off on Earth with the protagonist, the main hero, Sam. He's an ex-soldier. He's worn out from 20 years of service. He's a little bit eroded inside, and he discovers a mystery. He just thinks it's organised crime. He goes, charging in. And it turned out to be aliens. So it just blows his whole world apart. He's shell-shocked at what the heck's going on, and then he becomes embroiled with these aliens. They are, they're here for our benefit, and he's taken off world, and he's on lots of different adventures throughout the whole 5 books. But each book has a little mini story going on, and then you got an overarching story arc over the 5 books, which culminated in book 5. So.
Yeah. So just tell us who the main characters are then. So there's Sam.
There's Sam. He's human. Aparte, who's a leggy, nice-looking brunette.
Yeah.
Who Sam eventually falls in love with. You've got Nicomedes. He's the scientist. You've got Erebos. He's a bit like Sam, really. He wants to get things done. He's hard-hitting. Just get the job done. And Erebos actually means he goes into dark places. So that's why he was named that. Most of the characters use Greek or Latin names because they've been on Earth that long. They've influenced our society with their languages.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll just go to a track now, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about how the research went with this book. How you did. How you did your research, because there's a lot of things that you use in there that I think are quite I don't know, I'm thinking, where did you make this up, or is it real?
Most of the stuff's based on real science,
Yeah.
as far as I can. Obviously, space propulsion's not, because we haven't got there yet. But lots of the things in the book, the little creatures that's mentioned, they're all real.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, Phil. I think I didn't have the microphone at the full volume, but hopefully everyone could hear that, so we won't repeat everything. But we were talking about your Manarin series, your sci-fi series, and I was about to ask you about the level of research you had to do for that, because sci-fi is something that you've always enjoyed, right? So you kind of you know the lingo, and I think that's where I found, particularly if you're proofreading or editing a sci-fi novel and it's not something that you normally read, some of the words are a bit different, and I'd have to go back to you and ask you, is this a real word, or is this what you meant to say? Yeah. Have you made this word up? Whatever. So obviously you would have had to do more research for book one, and then a lot of the things carried through for the rest of the series. But so tell us, what kinds of things did you do?
Oh, I did massive amount on every book. I've actually done a lot of research. I actually enjoy that. Even down to when I'm creating the alien creatures, I have a look at the diversity on Earth in the extreme environments to see what we have here. And then when you realise that we have some bizarre creatures on this planet, it means when I'm creating creatures for the science fiction, they're not so far-flung, because stuff like that actually does exist. So in book one, I mentioned there's a sea slug that can photosynthesize because it eats the algae that photosynthesizes, and then it doesn't have to eat as much and it's true. It's a real creature in the deep sea.
But we don't.
We don't know about it as general.
No,
and it's just little amazing factoids, and I try to sprinkle these little factoids throughout the series. So if anyone actually does go, oh, I wonder if that's true, and Googles it, it goes, oh, that's true. Even down to the point where I mentioned where this big space station was by a black hole. I hide it behind the most distant star system we could see in 2016 when I wrote the book. Because you research what's the most distant star system we know about, and I've actually it's behind there, so we can't see it.
Right.
So I did loads of research, even down to military railguns, current space exploration, radiation poisoning, lots and lots of stuff.
But you love that, don't you?
Yeah, I love to learn.
Yeah.
I love to learn, so it's brilliant.
Was it basically all through just, Googling and then finding different websites and reading it, or did you, use real books, go to the library, or, what did your...
The majority of the book one was online. Currently, the book I'm writing now, I'm going to jump a little bit. I'm currently writing a book now, and I have a whole desk full of books just for that, because a lot of it's about crime, it's about injuries to the human body, it's about poisons and murder and police forensics and police procedures. So I do a lot of paperbook reading. But book one was primarily on the internet, but I always try to find a corresponding website that said, yes, this is true, rather than just going to Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly, because Wikipedia could be...
Yeah, whatever, I mean, thankfully, they actually do put the references at the bottom, so you can see, oh yeah, no, that is correct. But it was such a varied book that the research in it was just amazing, and I really enjoyed it.
So the most research you did would be for book one, but each book that followed you still did.
Yeah, depending on what the storyline was, what the technologies I was trying to invent, you have to have a look at what's capable now, and then stretch your imagination and push the boundaries of what we could do if we had better technology. So I was always doing current research and then trying to stretch it. In book 4, we're in the ocean, back on Earth. Sam comes back to Earth, and we're in submarines. So I was having to do a lot of research about submarines. I expected the police to come knocking on my door because I was researching where the locations of the Navy's listening posts underwater, because they have long cables underwater with passive sonar, so they're not pinging, but they're listening all the time, microphones. So I was trying to find all these locations and stuff for the Americans, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get in trouble here.
Big brother.
Absolutely. Down to the fact that, the area in the book that I use is known, I'm not going to give it the name, known for lots of shipwrecks and lots of theories as to why it happened. And one of them is because of the superheated water, because of the magma coming up, because it's lava when it's above ground, magma underneath, boiling the water. When you boil water underwater, you get these air bubbles because it's steam.
Right.
So those big bubbles you see are steam, and that steam goes up, and it can destabilize a boat. You've got all these bubbles, and if your boat's suddenly floating on top of a bubble, well, it's going to fall into it.
So why is the steam in that particular area?
Because it's volcanic, because it's so deep. There's a lot of volcanic underground volcanoes
activity,
and where the tectonic plates are moving. So there's a lot of volcanic action underneath there. Also, you got these methane pits, which do the same thing, release lots of methane, cause lots of bubbles. And again, all these bubbles aerate the water, and then you can't float a boat on it. It will just fall into the void.
Huh. You should do a book on that.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah,
it really
that
was
sounds
amazing.
really interesting. Yeah.
And then you got superheated water. People should look at what is superheated water. It's so hot. It's in multiple states at the same time.
Right.
Because water, we see it every day and we don't think anything of it. But it's a crazy medium because it's a liquid. It can be a gas. It can be a solid as ice. Yeah. It floats. When it's frozen, it gets bigger and it floats. But then warm water, in the winter, the warm water's at the bottom of a pond because it sinks. That's why all the fish go down to the bottom. That's why the
fish go to the bottom,
and the cold water comes to the top.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in the bath, the top's always the hottest bit.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a chemistry lesson.
It's a really strange medium, but we don't think about it because we see it every day.
Mm. But also, we always think of volcanoes of being above ground.
Yeah,
but there's loads
underwater.
Underwater as well.
And because of this, I mentioned that there's a snail which actually lives near these volcanic lava pits and stuff. And because of all the iron oxide and the sulfur oxide and all of the chemicals in the water coming up from the underground, they take in iron and they make the shells out of it. So they're actually a magnetic snail. Mm. Their shells are magnetic.
Magnetic, yeah.
Just diversity of life down there.
Well, yeah, you should look this up. There's, it's in eastern Canada. I think it's in Nova Scotia, called Magnetic Hill. And my sister was just there. And I really want to do some research to figure out why does this happen. But it's basically, you'll be going downhill and have your foot off the gas and everything, and it's pulling you up.
Wow.
Like it's called Magnetic Hill, and it's just, but how, I think it's the only one in the world.
So it must have large iron deposits at the top.
Iron deposit, yeah. It's just freaky. It's hard for me to understand it. She sent a video of them in the car, and you still can't quite
grasp
how this is happening. But so that would be something that you might throw into a book someday. So, okay, so the Monarans, I know Monera is an area around Wrexham, which is where you live. So that's kind of why you called it that.
Kath, my partner, used to live, so it's a little bit of a jibe, but Kath, she's a lovely person. She puts up with a lot. So calling her an alien because she's from Monera. It's got lots of lovely countryside up there.
Yeah.
It's got old mines and it's got little mountains. So I based it around there, a little enclave that's hidden away, and that's where it all started from. Yeah. But there's actually 14 of these little enclaves hidden around the world in the books, and we talk about them. Mm-hmm. And in book 4, he goes looking for the last one because they can't find one. So
in book 5, without giving everything away, does it all sort of end happily, or would you say, because I would think it must be really difficult to end a series. How do you end it? Do you end it with, with everything being resolved, or do you end it with, because the reader wants some kind of a satisfaction as well. You got to pull everything together, don't you?
Yeah, I've tried very hard in book 5 to bring together all the strands that have woven through the previous 4 books and explain things, because there's an external influence called the Overseer, so I've explained who he is and who his minions are that you don't really see in the book, and there's a thing called the bee suit, and what that is, it's this little creature. I tried to bring all the little threads together, make it exciting, not predictable. I tried to put a bit of a twist at the end, and I didn't want to go down the route of all the good guys are slaughtered, because you'd come out and you go, oh, I can't believe I just read those 5 books and I'm depressed now. Yeah. You've got to come out of a series, out of a book, thinking, oh, I really like that. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
That's a good ending, and that's what I was really hopeful for. Was getting that elation, and I like that kind of effect. And
I did like the ending as well. Yeah. But I just think that I would think as a writer that must be really quite a responsibility especially when you've done 5, how do you close this off so that your readers are satisfied. Did you find that quite a responsibility, or did you just say, oh well, no, you're part of this is me, this is my story, and I'm going to end it the way I want, or a little bit of both maybe?
I always knew there was threads left open,
Yeah.
not tidied up, things I'd mentioned earlier on but hadn't really given enough detail about. It was enough to you go, yeah, I understand that, but I'd like to sort of give you the background of how things happened, why things happen. So I tried to tie all the little loose ends up in book 5. So you go, so you feel, yeah, I understand what's happened now, and I understand why he said that and why he's done that. So I didn't find it difficult, but then I use a piece of software called Scrivener.
I was going to ask you about that, about Scrivener. I was going to bring that up for if there's anybody listening that is writing novels now. I know that you really think a lot of Scrivener, and I was going to say that probably helped you to pull everything together.
Yeah, and all my notes are within one program, and it's called Scrivener. So all my notes for all the 5 books, all the chapters, all the scenes, they're all accessible from one little writing platform. And if I have a question, I can just do a quick search and I find what I wrote before about it. And go, right, yeah, I understand what I wrote now. Because I forget. I mean, I've been writing this book for 3 years, this series.
So it helps you not only with the book you're writing on, you can go back and look at
all the previous scenes.
Yeah.
And it breaks it up into scenes. It's not like a Word document where you've just got 100 pages in one long thread. Every scene is a little mini document which you can open, or you can open all those little scenes as a chapter,
right?
Or you can open all the chapters as a book, so you can see it as one long thread. It breaks it up for you. It also means my writing style's changed, and I'm now episodic. I write scene by scene, which may be a good thing, may not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it helps me write because it means I'm writing to a certain word count, maybe, or I have to write about this topic before I walk away.
Yes. Okay.
So it helps me that way.
So that is it an app and on your desktop?
You can get it for Windows, Mac, or you can get it for iPads as well.
Okay, so it's Scrivener, which is Scrivener.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
They do a free 30-day trial, and apparently it's a 30-day of use trial, not 30 days chronological.
Okay.
Which is quite handy.
So how much is it? A monthly subscription, or
no,
is
it's a one-off fee.
So you just buy it.
It's like £30 or £40. I think it's money well spent.
So it's what just to buy it? It's £30 or £40.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's a one-off fee, and it sits on your. It's on your.
Yeah,
on
that's not bad.
Your device, so it's not a cloud-based system. It's on your device.
Mm-hmm.
It uses Dropbox if you want to synchronize it between PCs, because I have it on my Mac at home, I have it on my Apple laptop, and I have it on my iPad, and they all synchronize via Dropbox.
Right.
So it's always got the latest version.
Okay. So if anyone's listening and wants to know more about that, just have a look and maybe have a trial, the 30-day trial. But as you say, that's not expensive. A lot of these things nowadays, they're making you do subscriptions. So
I
you have
hate
to
subscription-based services.
Yeah, it's just a way of them making money, isn't it? So okay, well, we'll go to another track then, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about your next book, which is somewhat, well, it's not sci-fi, would you? Fantasy.
It's fantasy. Yeah.
Fantasy.
It's science fantasy. It's a different genre.
Yeah.
Wanted a new challenge. So.
Yeah, Phil. The Manarin series is done. Do you feel like sad, or do you feel happy? I mean, you've written a great series. I know that you feel from book 1 to book 5, your writing style's changed, and I'm sure you think book 5 is from a book. Every author says that.
I have progressed. I know
yeah.
I have progressed. My style's changed. I've learned a lot in the process about writing.
Yeah.
Just like to mention, book 1 has recently won an award.
Yes.
Best in genre for science fiction by Top Shelf magazine, which
Yes.
I'm really pleased about.
But so it wasn't all that bad then.
It wasn't all that bad. No, there are people out there who
it's fantastic.
Really like
I'm just saying, I would just like to draw the comparison to authors when they write their first book to when they've sort of written their third or their fourth book. They always look back and say, "Oh gosh, my writing is so much better now than it was." But with everything, that's with everything. It takes practice.
About, yeah. When I finished the last line of book 5, there was mixed feelings. It was elation because the series is finished, and I've made this whole universe in 5 books, and I'm really pleased with it. But it was also a case of I'm really sad now because these characters are going to have to be put to one side while I move on with different projects. And Sam, Nicomedes, Aparte, Erebos, and all the others have been like family members for 3 years. I talk about them with Kath. You know, this is what I've written today about these people. You know, they're almost like real people.
Yeah.
And I think that's also helped me pen them as more than just a 2-dimensional character, because I try to think of them as in real terms, and then when I'm writing about them, hopefully that comes through and they feel more real.
Well, Alan Jones, he one of our illustrators, he actually, because this is a novel, so there's no illustrations or anything, it's all up to your imagination, but he created the characters for you, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he drew the characters.
Yeah, and that helped, I'm sure, too, because then you can sort of say, you can see them as like, you can see a picture of them, they're, even though they're still 2-dimensional, but you can see an image of them.
Yeah,
so that
they become more
yeah,
real, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so when do you expect to launch the book? End of January or the beginning of February?
I would say probably the beginning of February because of the recent problems with Amazon and KDP. The book, as you know, has just been proofread and it's almost ready to go. So once we get it up on Amazon, we'll make sure everything's tickety-boo and everything's working, and then we'll have a release date.
Okay, so we'll look for that in the next 2-3 weeks, really, because we're already at, what is it, the 16th of January?
15th. Yeah.
No, it's 16th today. Wow, 16th of January already, so we're halfway through January. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about your next project that you said you're about 35,000 words into, did you say?
32%, I said.
Oh, 32%. Okay.
Yeah, I when I write, I look at the percentage rather than the word count. I know that sounds silly. It's a psychological thing. As the book is building up, if I'm looking at the word count, it's 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, but the percentage is always like a higher number. So
okay,
it's psychological.
so in order to get that percentage, you must have then a target, right? So you've got a target of X number of words, because otherwise, how would you figure out your percentage?
Oh, I use a website on the internet called Percentage Calculator.
No, I know, but I'm saying, what is your target in order to know that you're 32% towards your target?
The target for my original Minarian series was 60,000 words per book, because I wanted to get 5 books out as quickly as possible, because as an author you're taken more seriously if you have a stream of books behind you. Now I've got 5 books out behind me. The next book I'm going to do, I nearly get the name away for it then a little bit early, it's going to be an 80,000 word book. Okay,
so you plug that in, you say, okay, you have an idea, I want this book to be, and if it's 82, whatever, that's not a big deal, but you kind of are working towards an 80,000 word book, and then as you start writing, then it calculates to say, okay, I'm 32% towards my 80,000 word goal.
Yeah, I mean, Scrivener tells me at the end how many words I've got at the end of each session. I just put it in a little percentage calculator, and I stick that in my notes, and I'm at this percentage, this word count. But it's the percentage I'm looking at this point, because it's a higher number. I know it sounds silly, but it's a higher number, and it's just psychologically you're making progress. It's easier to see, and then as I get closer to the end, I go back to the word count for some reason. It's psychological again.
Yeah. Well, it's just how you choose to do it, really. But that's interesting. I didn't realize that you sort of set a word count goal before you started the book.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Like I said, with the Minarian series, I looked at how many words that I need to give me a decent sized spine on the smallest book size that Amazon did, which it's not actually the smallest, it's the second one up. It was 8
8.25?
Yeah, no, 8 by...
Or 5.5.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Amazon has about 10 different sizes, and some of them are very similar. So, and you've done really well too, because Amazon has minimum pricing levels based on how much it costs to print the book and so on, and so that affects your royalties, because you want to keep your price for buying the book at a reasonable price.
Absolutely,
yeah, but you also want to make a bit of money from it. So that all comes down to it. Number of pages,
And it's something a new author has to look at, because you can't go saying, I'm going to charge £10 for my book. We're new authors. We don't. No one's going to spend £10 on an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and pitch it at a level that's mainstream, just below mainstream. Have a look at your word count. Have a look how much that book's going to cost you and how much royalty you get. With Jared, because I'm going for another 20,000 words, I'm going to go up a couple of book sizes.
Right.
So I won't use as many pages.
Yes.
Because I get more words per page.
Per page, yeah.
And that will affect how much royalty I get.
Mm-hmm.
So if I kept it at the same physical size as the Manarian series, it would be a thicker book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pay an extra penny per page.
Yeah.
And, 30 pages, that's 30 pence gone. But when you're only getting, £1 per book if you're lucky, 30 pence is a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a lot of things that authors need to understand when you're starting out, and what all the parameters are and the things that you need to think about. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And I not to say that I talk about this very often, but that's one of the things Team Author likes to do, is to kind of handhold and guide you through the process and say, okay, well, if you do this, this is what your consequences are. And if you do this, and give you all the different scenarios, and then let the author choose, but at least you know the facts.
Well, they've been informed, and they're making an educated guess, rather than just going, I'll choose that.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Amazon has standard book sizes, and then they'll have other book sizes that are available, but they cost more because they cost more to print, because they're not
non-standard.
They don't fit in with the standard paper sizes, and that's something that I always have an issue with. If some of the authors, particularly of the children's books, they'll want to, or the nonfiction, the business books, they want to print some in the UK. So then I have to explain to them, well, UK paper size is completely different to North American paper sizes. So therefore, if your book is this size in America, it may not.
You have to have it reformatted.
You have to reformat it to
sizes.
fit to the paper size. Otherwise, you have too much waste, and your printing costs are too high. So there's just a multitude of things to think about. So that's kind of where Team Author comes in, is that we allow the authors to write, and you focus on writing and doing the best book that you can, and we'll help you with all the other...
Trying to take the stress out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Help with all the other things that come along that you thought, oh, really? You mean I have to think about that? Oh, I had no idea. So your next book then, do you want to tell us... Well, I know it may slightly change, but your title, and it's just a one-off fantasy book as well. It's not planned to be part of a series, but it could be.
Yeah, I'm going into this book as a one-off book. When I wrote the Manarian series, because I knew it was a series, I left questions unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to write this book as a one-off book, and then if I want to come back and do a follow-up book, I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be, again, almost a standalone book. But it's not part of an ongoing story arc. So it is a standalone book. It's about a wizard in modern-day society.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped through from a different dimension, to a little bit of science there, I suppose, science fiction. And he's here. Of course, he can't be in his wizard garb. He has to pretend to be human and fit in. It's based in Manchester. There's several reasons for that, because it's easy for me to get to Manchester to do research. So I go down to London. Manchester is such a wonderful place anyway.
Yeah.
And he's here, and he's here because he's trying to search for lost magic that we have had and we've lost. All our ancient cultures mention magic. That's a known fact. And he's... in the book, that magic was real, and he's investigating what we've known, because he's a professor in his own right, in his own world at a university, and the only way to learn is you have to investigate, do your own experimentation, or go and learn from other people and other cultures. So he's here for that, but he gets embroiled in a murder investigation. He's part of an antiques importing company.
Mm-hmm.
Antiquities and artifacts, not antiques, because antiques like Victorian, these are, thousands of years old artifacts and relics.
Artifacts, yeah.
And there's a murder investigation, he gets embroiled up, and the story is all around that. So the fact that he's actually a wizard from a different dimension is not... It's not the major part of the story. It's almost a police detective story. It's a wizard story.
Mm-hmm.
It's crossing genres.
Oh, this sounds really good.
I'm really enjoying writing it. I'm actually
because I love
really,
crime novels as well, so it's got a little bit of both.
And I've got a stack of books now. Kath got me some great books for Christmas. Police procedures, forensics, body trauma. So if I need to know what a wound will actually look like and what it would do, I got a body trauma book. I got a book on poisons. I've had to change my internet usage. I know this sounds bad, but I'm actually investigating some rather dodgy topics. I'm thinking, well, Google tracks everything you do. I'm from a techie background, as you know, Sue, but Google tracks everything you do. So I now use DuckDuckGo, which doesn't track you at all.
Okay.
I use the incognito browsers, and I use a VPN, so my internet provider doesn't know what I'm searching for. Because when I'm searching for some of these topics, especially to do with ritualistic killings, black magic sacrifices, the most painful way to kill someone, I'm thinking, this sounds a little dodgy.
Yeah, there's there's a part of MI5 or MI6 that's just dedicated to looking for people like you who are searching the internet. So, just make sure that you put everywhere that you're an author.
Absolutely.
I was thinking, actually, is it the 27th of April? That's when the Wrexham Carnival of Words starts.
Yes.
Is the week of the 27th of April to the 4th of May. And on that first day, we have a workshop with forensic science.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, yes.
She's a forensic science lecturer from Glyndŵr University, so that'll be good. It's an hour and a half, and you'll be fiercely scribbling away, I'm sure.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always loved forensic programs, things like CSI and stuff like that. I've always loved that in bones. I don't have a TV, but we stream them when we get time. But actually going to see a proper forensic scientist and be able to ask questions, because I'll go there armed up with a big list. Yeah. Because most TV programs, and this is where I didn't want to fall down, a lot of TV programs misrepresent the true facts.
For the just because it's easier
everything.
Or whatever.
It's just easier. I mean, if a person passes over and wants rigor mortis to set in, and it sets in pretty quickly, there is a set time period. That person, you cannot move those body limbs again. They are frozen in place because rigor mortis set in. Well, all your TV programs miss all this. They're picking them up on their old floppy. It really doesn't happen like that. It's much.
How long does it take for rigor mortis?
I think it's like an hour and an hour and a half, depending. It depends on the temperature and all sorts of stuff. And then you got the lividity, and you get all the blood pools on one side where they are. There's lots of evidence that's there. But one of the things that gets me is you can't fold. If the person's been folded up and shoved in the truck, they come out at that shape. They will never just unfold again. And all the TV programs get it wrong. And lots of forensic science is like that. They just misrepresent it because it's easier to do in the script and people don't know any difference.
Yeah, in the script, And
I hate that.
You want to be accurate.
Yeah, since I've become an author, I find it difficult watching things that are grossly inaccurate. Kath will go to me, it's just a film.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think I've heard that from police officers, and that they say, they can't watch a police drama because everything is so inaccurate that it drives them crazy. So, that's great that what you're going to do is going to be real.
I try and base it on as much research as possible. You cannot look at TV and think I can base it on that, because it'll just be such a hollow script.
Yeah. Well, we really shouldn't be doing our research from TV programs because it's make believe, really. Okay, well, we'll go to another track here. We're starting to run out of time. It's going quickly. We always do, don't we? I'm talking about his next book, which is completely standalone. It's Jared and Search for Forgotten Magic. Somewhat, it takes place in present day Manchester area. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So,
wizard.
Wizard, and kind of searching for this.
Well,
magic.
He's searching for magic that we've forgotten from our histories.
Right.
Because
there's crimes that are happening, and Does he need this?
No, he is a He works at university.
Yeah.
He teaches. He's a professor.
He's a professor,
and
yeah.
he's always researching, trying to come up with new spells. And one of the easiest ways is to find out what other people do.
Right.
Don't reinvent the wheel. So he's come to Earth and he's trying to find the magic that we have known in the past but we've forgotten about. He calls us a society with amnesia because we've forgotten most of our past.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who made the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. He brings all this up in the book. He has a pop at our religions as well, so it's going to be a bit controversial there. I'm expecting some flack from that one. He's looked at it from an outside perspective.
So how does it tie into the crimes that are happening then?
Well, he is a part owner of a artifact and relic importing company because he's a buyer, he's a purveyor, and like most people do, they don't like spending money on other people's businesses. So he's bought into the business, so he's a shareholder of the business. So when he does spend money with them, most of it comes back to him. That's how the rich stay rich, and that's a proper factoid. So there's a theft. One of his artifacts gets stolen, and then people involved with the stolen artifact start getting murdered.
Okay.
And then there's a murder investigation. He gets embroiled into it. He gets into company of this Indian police officer, detective constable, and there's investigations going on, and there's murders, and there's all sorts of shenanigans. And I'm really enjoying writing it. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. So does he need to find something to help find them? Does he need to find some spell or something in order to stop these murders happening?
The actual his search is a sideline. He will thwart the murderer, and I'm not going to say why the murders have been going on radio. You'll have to read the book for that. But it's his wizardry that's going to come into its own at the end
to
of the
kind of
book.
save the day.
Yeah, save the day.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Where do you actually do your writing? Because you used to do it kind of in your house on your laptop, but do you like to go out now?
Yeah, I go out. I go out most mornings writing because I work from home.
Yeah.
And there's people in the house all the time, and I got animals. There's too many distractions. If I'm sat at my work desk, there's emails coming in, the phone's going. I know I've got work to do. I can't write. I can't separate my author persona from my business persona. So I actually go out. I find a cafe, who's ever got the best deal or the best coffee at the moment, and I will just sit down for a couple of hours and just try and write. I always try and write at least 1% of the book. So at the moment, that's
at any sitting. So that doesn't necessarily mean every day, but every time
I sit
down to write, you're going to write 1%.
I try and write 1% of the book. So at the moment, it's only 800 words. I try and do at least 1,000, but I won't walk away unless I've done 800.
Okay. So it doesn't bother you being in a sort of coffee shop, busy environment with lots of things going on. You can kind of just focus on what you're doing. You don't need to. What I'm saying is, you don't need to have like quiet.
I don't
space.
need quiet. No. There's two reasons for this. One is I've worked in a shared office, an open plan office, for a long time with the council, so I'm used to lots of chaos going on. And the second is I'm going deaf in my left ear. So
okay. So it doesn't.
So no, it's fine. I just completely. They disappear. I don't see any. All I see is the keyboard in front of me on the screen. Everything's oblivious.
Yeah, it's
gone.
interesting because, my business as well is a sole trader, so I work from home, and I find, yesterday I went to a local pub restaurant and just sat way back in the corner, and I was there all day. But I thought, if I'm at home, I'm looking at the laundry or the dishes or this needs to be done, So you just get distracted, and you need to go away to a different environment where nobody else or nothing, you don't have to worry about anything and just do what you need to do. So I get that. But it's interesting because everybody has a different, something that they enjoy about their writing. And you didn't start out that way, but...
No, I started writing it at home. I did most of it in bed at night.
Yeah.
Kath thought I was just tapping away, and after a couple of months I went, I'm writing a book. And she went, oi. That's how it started. Most of the first book was written at night in bed.
So when can we expect to be able to buy Jared then? What is your goal?
Jared will be written this year, and the goal is to have it ready for buying on Amazon and other places for Christmas.
For Christmas, okay. I'm looking forward to it very much. What is your website, and how can people find you?
My author website is pnburrows.com, And I also make websites for authors,
Yes.
and that's novel-websites.co.uk.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about that. Phil's done a lot of the authors' websites for Team Author UK, and we all understand that you really need to have a website if you're going to be a serious author, and then everything springs from that: your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, whatever it may be. But you need to have a home that readers can find you and know. If you're just doing a one-off book, that's one thing. But if you want to be a serious author, then you need to have a website. And
you need a central hub for all of your marketing purposes. It's somewhere they can go, they can find everything about you. And one of the things that people should start putting on their websites, I've got it, I only did it this year, is a press page. Once you've been out for a while, you've got a couple of press coverage years, you might have won a few awards, you might have done guest blogs or interviews like the radio today, and you link all these things from one page. So have a press page. Make a document so if any of the press do want to do anything about you, the pictures are there, all the text is there, all the contact details, your story, your bio, it's all ready for one page. So that's also, yes, you need a website, but I would also have a press page.
No, that's good. And that's something Phil does, the Team Author website, but he also does a lot of our authors' websites, but you also do some business websites as well. So
I do. I'm making a holiday website at the moment.
Yeah.
I do prefer authors because they're really interesting people. They're such great people to talk to. They're wealth of knowledge, and I just like learning things. I just love author websites.
So you can contact Phil for that, or if you're going through Team Author, that's just one of the services that we provide, and we highly recommend. And it's not that expensive either. People think, oh gosh, there's so many expenses, and unfortunately, when you're a first-time author, that probably is when your most expenses are, because that's when you've got to get everything up and running. But then, from then on, it's just a annual maintenance fee. So it's, and it works. If you want to be serious about it, you need to have a home, a hub.
You need a website.
Yeah.
You might have business cards printed or flyers, and you'll waste a couple of £100 on that. You don't waste them because you use them, but you spend a couple of £100 on that. And, we charge $425 for an author website. There forever. You just pay a little fee every year, but that website can be used over and over and over again. You give your box of 100 leaflets away, they've gone. So it's a reusable marketing resource.
Yeah, exactly, and you can change it all the time.
Yeah, and
so once you've printed something, you have to use it until you reprint it. So this way you can change as often as you want.
Boxes of business cards that are out of date because I keep bringing new books out.
Yeah.
And I have the books on there, and I think, well, I can't use that anymore. I've only got 2, and I've got 5 books out. So I've got 7 because I've got 2 children's books, one in Welsh, one in English.
Yeah.
So any printing material soon becomes out of date.
Well, just let me say thank you very much for coming on the show today, and thank you for all the help that you give to me with Team Author and all our authors. I know you're a valuable part of my team, so thank you for that, Phil.
Thank you.
And people that can listen to this show again on Kellen FM for the next 2 weeks until we have our next live show. But then the link will also be on the Team Author YouTube channel, which I'm sure you'll put the link on your press page.
Yes, I
won't
will.
you? Yeah, so people can listen about that. So follow Phil on Facebook and Twitter, and go to his website to find out about his books. And we'll leave you now with a final song, and we look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks' time. I'm not sure who my guest is then. I never know who my guest is because I like to be spontaneous. But the Indie Author Show will be back in 2 weeks' time. Take care, everyone.